Hey, wait until you see what we found in these faucets. I'm quite certain we could start our own amusement park. Here's how I did it, and this is what we found. Having a faucet that doesn't shut off, or having a faucet that has low water pressure, can sometimes be a similar solution. In order for me to tear it apart and show you what I found, I of course have to shut the water off. Whether you have a commercial faucet or residential faucet, the handles always come off. The hard part is sometimes figuring out how to get them off. In this case, it was a little plastic tab that revealed the screw. Once you have the handle off, that's when you're going to see this piece. It's called a stem or a cartridge. In order to get those nuts off, you're going to need a pliers. So use something like a paper towel or a towel just so you don't scratch up the finish. So a cartridge inside your faucet actually correlates with the handle placement. So it just kind of helps direct how much water you want. If you want a little bit more hot or a little bit cold, that's how you regulate. So here you go, check it out. I actually had some stones in this line. And yes, as you would assume, that is going to stop the water from being able to shut off. So there you are, that's how you change out a cartridge. And just so you know, the steps would be very similar if you also had a shower that wouldn't shut off. All right, now let's jump into a situation where I have a kitchen faucet that's got low water pressure. So, of course, as we know from the previous video clip here, we could check inside the handle, but I'm going to try something a little bit easier than that. I started by checking the spray nozzle, and inside there you're going to see an aerator. Or, actually, that's where it's supposed to be, but you can't quite see it because there's so much sand in there. Yeah, you can see, I'm getting a little frustrated, so instead of destroying the countertop, let's tear this thing apart. And all these faucets are going to be a little bit different, but the idea is still the same. You should be able to tear it all apart like this. In this case, I just twisted it off. I did have to use a pliers, but I opened it up and just look at that. This thing, it's like an entire sandbox inside this faucet. And by now you're probably thinking, gee, is that actually like normal or what's actually going on here? The answer is no, it's not normal, but it is something that does happen in a smaller scale. Cleaning out your aerators is definitely something you should do, but not to this degree. So I actually ask, if you guys know someone, please tag them in this question. Is there such thing as some sort of inline filter per faucet that I can install to try to see if I can isolate what's going on? With any luck at all, we can have a conversation in the comment section here with some people that actually know if there is something we can do to kind of fix this. I found it quite interesting to find all that stuff in there. And also thanks in advance if there's anyone you can tag in this video. Good morning, welcome back guys. As promised, we're gonna start on the backsplash. So we will have the herringbone style, and it does come in sheets. So what we have to do is we gotta cut it to height, width, cut out our outlets. It's gonna be fun. A little bit cooler today. Of course, we got the dog. What's up, Jay? Mostly gonna be using the wet saw today. Score and snap, I just don't have as much luck. It's not as precise, so we're gonna use the wet saw. Now this method of doing a layout, getting everything cut square and getting it all ready before you even put the thin set on the wall is definitely not the most favorite of the trades, but I tell you what, it does really well for me, and it just makes it a lot easier to finish just the really precise cuts. I mean, honestly, who wants to be messing around with these fancy cuts when there's mortar on the wall that's starting to dry? So how I go about getting everything straight and square is I use this T-square and I use another straight edge and I just mark countertop to cabinet height. I like to make sure I put a board across here too so I can span. This is where your range would be. So what we can do is we can just lay that bottom row all the way through. It can just sit right on top of this little board here. And what you want to do obviously is make it from top of the countertop to the top of the countertop. And I just used a little brad nail and I tacked it in. It doesn't need to be able to hold a whole lot of weight, but it's easy enough. That way you can just keep flying through. It's a great day on the renovation property. I tell you what, these finished goods, oh man, they feel so good when they get in. Now we just got to go ahead and grout. But before we go, I want to show you how I use this same exact technique in a shower floor. So basically what I do is I take a template right here and I bring it yonder, lay it out in this room, and we just square everything up. You can see my cut lines, cut all the way around. And then I got my drain in the middle there. We'll do that, we'll cut it, and we'll throw it in. And of course, to make things a little bit easier, you can number each individual piece so you don't have to worry about mixing them up when you take them and throw them in the shower. And just like that, all the hard work is in the prep. So that only took about 5 minutes to get in and weighed.